Ahem, we now resume our regularly scheduled trial. With interruption. We'd like to question the witness again. Huh? But Miss Sykes, is there really any need to? There is! Because this witness... she... Come on, Athena. She's been deeply traumatized by what she's seen. Okay. We'll go with that. Excuse me? I'm perfectly fine! Wait a second, Athena. You're not... I could sense it earlier. It was faint, but it was there. Okay. I can roll with... She saw something that would bring... discord in her voice. There was discord in Taya's voice when she spoke about the night of the murder. You think it'll help? We better hope so. Otherwise, we are fucked. I see. You wish to conduct a therapy session. Therapy? I really don't think that's necessary. I wonder... Miss Von Karma, what are your thoughts on this? I have no objections. She's starting to trust us. She's letting us carry on. Either that or she thinks that there's nothing that's going to come from it. Which are both valid opinions. I see in that case. Terribly sorry, Miss Taya. I'm going to need you to testify once more. Fine. It was way too close. Thanks, Athena. I owe you one. Well, I wasn't about to let the trial end there. Anyway, I hope you're ready because we've got our work cut out for us here. I can handle it. Show me what we've got. Alright, initializing the mood matrix now. Okay, everything's set up. Remember how to do this, right? Yeah. Find a contradictory emotion and select it with press. You've got it. Ready? Absolutely. Show me the testimony. Mood matrix initialized. Noise level 100%. Let's do it. What do we got? I was working in the lounge all day. I took a break at 8:45 p.m. Surprise! Upon leaving the kitchen on my way outside. Okay. Fear. Seems legit. Also legit. Could be the lack of fear here. Remember, you have 4 mood markers to choose from. Red is anger, green is joy, blue is sadness or fear, and yellow is surprise or confusion. After you find a contradictory emotion, hit press and select it. Remember, you can't present evidence while you're in the mood matrix. I know. But you don't need all this hand-holding. Okay. I mean, I guess we could call it surprise, but... Gotcha! Alright. I found it. Miss Taya, there's something very strange about what you claim to have seen. Oh? What's that? It seems like you were surprised by something when you saw Mr. Doe that night. Isn't that strange? There's nothing surprising about seeing a butler leave the kitchen. What? Oh! This feels like a bad idea. What's wrong? Did you remember something? I did. I walked past that butler. I saw something that surprised me. He was holding that knife. Oh. What? What? Okay. Well, this was bad. Order. Witness. About what you just said. Wasn't this knife the murder weapon? Oh, no. That's right. The butler was holding the murder weapon. That proves that he's the killer. Crap. Athena, things have just gone from bad to worse. Never expected this to happen. What are your thoughts on this, Prosecutor Von Karma? It certainly is interesting. Eh? What the? What was that look just now? Von Karma figured something out just now? She's not saying anything, which can only mean... Ah. Athena, there's something strange about this. Huh? What are you talking about? I need you to load up the mood matrix again. I think there might be a contradiction in Tea's testimony. Are you sure about this? It's fine. It's not like things can get any worse anyway. You have a point. Okay. All you have to do is present a contradictory piece of evidence. But just like a normal cross-examination. Okay. 75%. Okay. Something to prove Mr. Doe's innocence. Alright. Oh, the knife was found in the victim's body. Objection! There's a major contradiction with this testimony. I'm impressed. It only took you 10 minutes longer than me to figure that out. Apollo Justice? That smirk. On camera already knows what I'm about to say. What do you mean, Mr. Justice? Witness claims that they saw the defendant holding the murder weapon. Only moments before she discovered the body. Yes, I believe that's correct. However, does it make a whole lot of sense when you consider the fact that this knife was found stuck inside of the victim's body? Ah. The victim was stabbed and killed with this knife. It should not have been in Mr. Doe's possession after the murder occurred. But, I saw it. The butler was definitely holding that knife. I don't get it. I don't think that Miss Tea is lying at all. At the same time, what she's saying just can't be true. Well, it's a good thing I'm here, isn't it? You mean, I'm still able to sense discord in the witness's voice. I haven't heard the whole truth just yet. I guess it's up to us to get to the bottom of this contradiction. Your Honor, the defense would like to continue our therapy session. We believe that we can answer the last remaining questions if you will allow it. What are the prosecution's thoughts on this? No objections? I would also like to see where this line of questioning leads us. Very well. Witness, can you testify for us one more time? Yes, Your Honor. Get ready, Apollo. Not getting any more chances after this one. I know. Don't worry. I can handle this. 40%. Interesting. That took a little noise out of her voice. Eh? Okay. Back door. Discovered Ness's dead body. So we have three possibilities here. No fear here, or no fear or surprise here. We don't get penalized for this, so... Gotcha! False! This motion seems strange. I don't know. I don't see anything wrong here. You don't? Huh. Well, you are the psychology expert. I'll try something else. Could also be the lack of fear here. Gotcha! Why were you surprised when you woke up? Okay, that's fair. This is definitely strange. Miss Taya, there's something I'd like to ask you about. You were shocked when you discovered the body, yes? What sort of question is that? Of course I was. In fact, you were so shocked that you passed out for about 15 minutes. So what? It's a perfectly natural reaction, don't you think? Of course. What I want to know is if you were also shocked by something after you woke back up. But, what? You'd already seen the body by that point, so it had to have been something else. Something surprised you when you woke up. Whatever it wasn't in that alley 15 minutes before you collapsed. What on earth are you talking about? Well, now that you mention it, I think there was something. The scene I saw when I collapsed, the scene I saw when I woke up. There's one big difference between the two. My memory's all fuzzy. I only saw the scene for a few seconds before I collapsed, so I can't really remember. I don't think we can get any information out of her like this. I only knew what it was that she saw after she woke up. There's gonna be a panic segment? Considering everything that Taya has already told us, I think I might already have an idea of what it could have been. What? Something appeared in that alley whilst Taya was unconscious. I think what we already found out from her previous testimonies. Miss Taya, is this what shocked you after you woke up? It's gotta be the knife, right? That's the big point that she's sticking on. The knife? Earlier you told us that you saw Mr. Doe holding this knife before he found the body. However, we deemed this to be impossible. Exactly. So it is claimed to have seen this after the time of death. But the knife would have been stuck inside the victim's body by this time. Objection! But what if there was another possibility? What if this knife hadn't yet been stabbed into the body when Miss Taya first saw it? What? When the witness first found the body, the knife was still in Mr. Doe's possession. It was at this moment that she passed out for 15 minutes. And we know that she was shocked by something when she awoke. As she put it, something had changed. And you believe that this change was the appearance of the knife in Tin Line's body. Which would make sense. After all, you were the next person to see the body after the witness awoke, Ms. Von Karma. Which means that the knife must have appeared before that point. Ah! Miss Taya? I remember. The defense attorney's right. He saw the knife after I regained consciousness. What? Order. Witness, are you certain that what you're saying is true? Is it possible that you simply didn't notice the knife at first? No. I may have only had a short glimpse before passing out. I can clearly see, that first scene in my mind's eye, the knife wasn't there. But that's impossible! If the knife wasn't stabbed into the victim until after he was killed, then what does the defense claim was the cause of death? The fall? Yeah, because the sticking point about him being stabbed with something else would be that... where'd all the blood go? There was still some blood in his room, but... I mean, we can... We're gonna jump to the fall. Clearly, there's only one other possible cause for the victim's death. If the stab wound was only made after Tin Line was killed, then the cause of death can only be the second injury that is mentioned in the autopsy report. You can't mean... Miss Tin Line wasn't stabbed to death. He died when he fell from the balcony in his apartment. What?! Always marking out when this theme plays. Order! Mr. Justice, are you claiming that the victim's death was an accident? No, Your Honor. I don't think that's likely. That the body was moved clearly shows that somebody was trying to cover up the victim's death. I believe that he was murdered when the killer pushed Mr. Tin Line from the balcony. Ridiculous! Is that for true? Then why would the killer have proceeded to stab a knife into the victim's corpse? That's exactly right. It doesn't make sense. What? Consider what we know about this knife. It came from Mr. Doe's toolkit. It also bears glove marks matching the pair found in his room. No matter how you look at it, this knife incriminates my client. Which is precisely why the killer left the knife at the crime scene. I get it. The killer stabbed the corpse with a knife to frame Mr. Doe. Detective Sky? Yes? I need you to contact the coroner and request an updated report. Specifically, ask them to investigate whether the stab wound occurred post-mortem. Yes, of course. Have I done it? Have I actually gained the upper hand? Or maybe this is just the beginning. This certainly was a surprising turn of events, Apollo Justice. It changes very little, however. What do you mean? Perhaps the victim really was pushed from his balcony. But the defendant was still the only person to enter his apartment at the time of the murder. Beep. Whoops. Furthermore, if we are to take the witness at her word, then that would mean that the defendant was the last person in possession of this knife. This would imply that Mr. Doe himself is the one who stabbed the victim's corpse. Oh. I guess so, huh? Well, Apollo Justice, how do you intend to prove that John Doe is not the killer? We knew Mr. Doe's exact movements that night. Might be able to figure out how that knife ended up at the crime scene. Well, there might be a way for us to do just that. There's one person who can tell us about Mr. Doe's movements on the night of the crime. I wonder who that could be. We can call that person as a witness. Well, how do you propose that we proceed, Apollo Justice? There's only one person who can answer every question that has been raised. Propose that we call this person as a witness. And how exactly would this person be of... Oh, okay. I was hoping to be silly. We're gonna call John. John Doe! It's a defendant. We need to know my client's exact movements on the night of the murder. And the best way to do that is to ask him. And Mr. Doe himself is the only one who can tell us this. How do you know that the defendant will not just lie to protect himself? Mr. Doe lies to the court, then I'll be the first one to call him out on it. Yes, since I'll be cross-examining him. Let me cross-examine the defendant, and I may be able to solve these last questions. What say you, Miss Von Karma? Shall the butler be allowed to testify? Fine. Witness, you may step down. What? Getting rid of me? Just like that? You lied to this court and made a total mess of my case. So you must forgive me if I don't appear very grateful for your testimony. I mean, I did hide that note from the court, but everything that I said I saw is 100% true. That remains to be seen. This really is our last chance, Apollo. For real this time. If we can't find the truth now, then we're finished. Can I really answer all the remaining questions in just one more testimony? Very well. Mr. Doe, please take the stand. Oh, okay. Name and occupation. Certainly. My name is John Doe, and I'm a butler at the Revales Casino. I provide services for the Revales family and their associates living in the casino building. I also live at the casino, in one of the staff rooms on the first floor. I cannot feel like I've heard your voice before, witness. Strange. I had a similar feeling as well. Oh, I tend to get that a lot. Suppose I just present an air of familiarity. I really don't see it. You're the only one who doesn't know, Apollo. You don't know. Except for those post-apocalyptic and post-traumatic cases that you end up in, but you don't know. Defendant, you were called here to testify about your movements on the day of the crime. I'm sure that I don't need to remind you to stick to the truth. Oh, of course. I'll gladly testify for you. Very well. Please begin, Mr. Doe. Day of the crime. Alright. Alright, we're getting this. This is happening. I began work at 9 a.m. that morning. My first task was a small bit of maintenance work in the kitchen. After that, I went about my duties as normal. Around 7:25 that evening, the kitchen began running low on plates and cutlery. Mr. Tinlin had a meal delivered to him at 6:45 p.m., so I decided to go collect the dishes, personally. Later that night, at around 8:40 p.m., I received a call from Mr. Rivales. One of the televisions in his penthouse blew a fuse, and he needed me to repair it. Upon retrieving the toolkit from my room, I saw that I had left my knife in the kitchen that morning. Quickly returned downstairs to collect it, and promptly made my way to the penthouse. Oh! It was not long after I finished the repair that the police arrived and arrested me on the spot. That actually works. I see. So Miss Taya saw you leaving the kitchen holding this knife. It was just before I went upstairs at Mr. Rivales' request. I needed to retrieve the knife as I had left it in the kitchen that morning. Yesterday you mentioned that the knife went missing before you were arrested. Is that correct? Indeed. Just after I finished my work in the penthouse, I believe. Must have been when the real killer took the knife and stabbed the corpse with it. Objection! Franny? I don't suppose that you have any proof of this. I do not. This testimony is a sham. Quite frankly, Apollo Justice, I am disappointed in you. Eh? There is no evidence to support the defendant's claims. Furthermore, there is a glaring contradiction here. What are you talking about? Defendant, am I correct in my understanding that you did not once return to your own apartment after the murder occurred? Yes, Miss Von Karma. Liar! The glove box on this knife matched the pair found inside your room. You could have left them there. If the knife was left at the crime scene to frame Mr. Doe, isn't it possible that those gloves were also planted by the killer? Yeah, your contradiction doesn't line up with his contradiction. No, it isn't. Because you still have to answer... You still have to answer how the knife went from leaving the kitchen to going back into the kitchen and stabbing the victim. Nobody else but the defendant had access to his apartment. Is that right, Mr. Doe? To my knowledge, you are correct. My door was locked. It is my understanding that I hold the only key. You're really not helping yourself. The key word, to my knowledge. This testimony is nothing but a stream of lies, Your Honor. I request that it be stricken from the record entirely. What? She can do that? Please wait, Your Honor. We still can't be certain that Mr. Doe is lying. His testimony may still hold the answers that we need. Oh boy. How do you expect us to trust a testimony that is already so full of holes? One hole. One hole, Franny. And from the defendant, no less. One hole. One hole. My client hasn't been proven guilty of anything yet. He has just as much of a right to testify as anyone else. I have the right to cross-examine that testimony. You do have a point, Mr. Justice. Very well. I will allow Mr. Doe's testimony. However, should your cross-examination fail to provide any meaningful results, we be forced to hand down my verdict. Yeah. This court session will be ending shortly. I will not take any baseless objections lightly. Double gulp. Is the prosecution satisfied with this arrangement? Fine. One hole, Franny. Not full of holes. One hole. You have one hole that's legitimate. And your objection to striking this from the record. And in your case, you still have to justify how he got... Even if he knew she was going to pass out. We still have to justify the fact that the knife left the kitchen and then came back to the kitchen. And it seemed like she was legitimately... He was legitimately going to do work and was arrested while doing work in the penthouse, so you have to explain that. In that case, please begin, Mr. Justice. It's our last chance. Don't screw this up, Apollo. I wasn't planning on it. This is it. I need to find something to turn this case around right now. Otherwise, we're finished. Be fine. Take a deep breath and give it everything I've got. It's punishment time! Party time. Well, let's see what happens. Sounds pretty early, considering how late you were working that night. Yes, I have quite the arduous daily routine. What's the pay like? It's satisfactory. Living off my current wage is still more preferable to asking Mr. Revales for a pay raise. That's understandable. A lot of maintenance work in the kitchen. What kind of work was it? Nothing big. A few light bulbs in the kitchen needed changing. This is when you left the knife behind? Yes. Needed to open a box of replacement light bulbs. That makes sense, I guess. Around 7:25 that evening, the kitchen began running low on plates and cutlery. Does this happen often? Normally, no. The casino was unusually busy that evening. It was probably because of the magic show that night. The restaurant was packed and dishes were being used faster than the kitchen could clean them. $7:25, so you were there 7:30. His meal was delivered. Mr. Revales takes care of those who are close to him. As well as serving customers, the kitchen also provides catering for the upstairs apartments. Okay, why wasn't that on the security footage? Tenants have their meals delivered, and they send the dirty dishes down when they're finished. Mr. Tinlin often forgot to return his dishes, which is why I went to collect them myself. That's when this footage was taken. Mr. Doe, are you certain that there is no way to reach the victim's room without passing the security cameras? I am sure. That hallway is the only path that can be taken from the staircase. And the apartment is on the second floor. Windows and balcony would be inaccessible to anyone who is incapable of walking up walls. Damn. Is there really no other way? That was an important statement that the defendant just made. I don't think that it should be added to the testimony, Apollo Justice. Ah! It's only making things worse. As you wish, Prosecutor Von Karma. See, this would be the point in the Sherlock Holmes Ace Attorney games, when you do in the closing argument segments where you have to contradict different statements. This would be the point where I'd take this statement and contradict it with this, and say, then how did his meal get delivered? We'll come back to that. What were you doing before that time? Going about my duties as normal? The casino was unusually busy that night, so I spent a lot of time assisting the kitchen staff with the customers. I wonder if there's anything that I can use to my advantage here. Are you normally called on to help with this kind of problem? Quite often, yes. Any small repair jobs that don't require an expert are given to me. It's a big building, so things tend to go break occasionally. And Revales can't fix something as small as a fuse by himself? Of course he can. He just prefers not to need to deal with such trivial matters. Would you really want to be the one to refuse a request from Vito Revales? Point taken. Moving on. So where do you keep your toolkit if not in your room? There's a small supply locker on the ground floor for staff to use. Because the ground floor is the busiest, it's where the maintenance work is needed the most. Keeping it there is easier than going upstairs every time I need my toolkit. Makes sense. If you were only replacing a fuse, why did you need a knife? Well, not that I needed the knife at that very moment. I just wanted to collect it as quickly as possible, before somebody else could move it. This is when Antaeus spotted you leaving the kitchen, correct? Yes? Normally I would carry the knife in my toolkit, but I'd already carried it to the top floor by this point. I thought you were carrying the knife in your hand, instead. Were you aware that a body had been discovered before the police arrived? No. I was still upstairs when Miss Taya alerted everyone in the lounge. I don't know what your plan is, Apollo, but as far as I can tell, well, we're screwed. There's only one way for us to make it out of this without a guilty verdict. We need to prove that it was possible for someone else to have killed the victim. We can't do that as long as the set's security footage exists. And I guess we'll just have to find some way around that. You're awfully calm, Apollo. Having a panic attack on the inside, I assure you. Okay, so let's go. I mean, this can't possibly be anything good, but this has to be a red herring. I can be absolutely certain. Many times does it need to be said. The only path between the apartment and the staircase is this hallway. As you can see from the footage, there is not one single blind spot. Anyone passing through the hallway would absolutely be caught. Let's not forget that the apartment is located on the second floor. There would be no way for a killer to use the windows or any other path of that nature, and that makes the hallway the only possible route. Eat! The killer couldn't have entered the apartment without being seen on the camera. I mean that Mr. Doe was the only one who could have done it. I know that can't be true. There has to be some other way. Maybe this sets a flag that will let us do this. Mr. Doe, I have a question about that last statement. By all means, ask it. You told us that the victim had a meal delivered to his room at 6:45 p.m. That's correct? That doesn't make sense when you look at the security tape. After all, nobody appears in the footage at that time. We've already established that you must pass by this camera to reach the victim's apartment. Hey, you're right. What's the deal with that? Ah. It appears that there has been a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Mr. Timline's meal was delivered to him by a dumbwaiter. What did the staff's intelligence have to do with it? Is he being serious? Or is that just a really terrible joke? I see. Dumbwaiter is a service lift for carrying objects upstairs. The staff use it to send food from the kitchen to the upper floors. Allow me to show you. As you can see, the dumbwaiter is just out of view of the security camera. The victim's meal was sent to this location, from which he could collect it and take it to his room. You see, he would not have appeared on the footage at this time. Again, Okay, that wasn't the break I was hoping for, but... So there was no contradiction after all. Wait a second. I'm not finished with my cross-examination yet. You're trying my patience. I'll leave the question to the defendant further, Mr. Justice. But please try to make your objections a bit more relevant this time. Hey, we gained information. That's a win. Won't allow you to drag out this cross-examination further than is needed. Whew. I've got one more chance. Better make this one count. This might be a dumb objection, but we're going to present the updated casino diagrams. I found it. This has got to be the answer I'm looking for. What's the matter, Mr. Justice? Your Honor. I'd like to address Miss Von Karma's previous claim. There was indeed a way for the killer to reach the victim without being caught on camera. Ridiculous. I've already been over this multiple times. It's impossible to move through that hallway without passing the camera's line of sight. I don't disagree with what you say, but you're making the assumption that the killer passed through the hallway at all. What are you blathering on about? There's another way for the killer to reach the Tinlin's apartment. This is the path that the killer took to avoid the camera. The dumbwaiter. This is how the killer reached the victim's apartment. The dumbwaiter? The dumbwaiter was used that evening to send a meal from the kitchen to the second floor. As we discussed earlier, it is outside of the camera's line of sight, which means that the killer could also use it to reach the victim undetected. How big is this fucking dumbwaiter? That's ludicrous! It's a lift for objects, not people! Who's to say that the dumbwaiter couldn't also lift a person? What do you say, Mr. Doe? Do you think that it's possible? I suppose so. They would need to curl up a bit, but assuming that the lift could handle their weight. You see? It's entirely plausible. Yes, the defendant, whose continued freedom relies on this question being answered. Okay, I'm getting cynical again. Of course he would say that. Okay, thank you, Franny. There's no way that the court can accept this ridiculous theory as a fact. Unless you can disprove the idea. We must still consider it a possibility. I was kind of expecting the security footage being edited. Be silent, you old fool. I am not done talking. Tell me something, Apollo Justice. How in the world did somebody climb into the dumbwaiter and rise it to the second floor? Not a single one of the kitchen staff noticing. Simple. What? Is this how the killer could ride the service without being seen? There was a magic show at the time. The answer that you're looking for is right here. As we've discussed before, the kitchen was on break between 7:45 and 9:15 p.m. The room was entirely empty at the time, which means that the killer was able to ride the lift to the second floor without being seen. The murder didn't take place till after the kitchen went on break. Impossible! This is certainly unique. Well then, it seems that it is indeed possible for someone besides the defendant to be the culprit. Prosecutor Von Karma? I have no choice but to concede for now. She's smirking again. I guess she really was relying on us to figure something out. Alright, there are still a great deal of questions to be answered. Does Mr. Doe have a motive? Was the victim really stabbed? Did he fall to his death? And if so, how did the knife end up stuck in his corpse? Indeed, I have no other option than to postpone my verdict until tomorrow's session. Until then, I would ask that both sides investigate what we have discussed here today. Understood, Your Honor. Now then, court is adjourned. I'm curious to see if this is actually the truth. Yeah, I was going on. That's clearly where we were leaning. But that played with my expectations. In a way that I have yet to determine whether I like or not. Leaning towards yes, but we'll see. Made it through. Yeah, that was a seriously close call, though. I think you both did wonderfully. Mr. Doe, I need to thank you for your testimony. It's because of you that the trial was extended for another day. Oh, there's no trouble at all. Speaking of which, I should keep a copy of Mr. Doe's testimony on hand. Knowing his exact movements on that night of the murder is going to be important. Okay. Now we know exactly how the killer was able to reach the victim's apartment. That means that the security footage can't be used as evidence against us anymore. That's a relief. All that's left now is to find the real killer. Is that what you were going to say, Athena Sykes? Huh? Hello. Prosecutor Von Karma. Congratulations on making it this far, Apollo Justice. I'm impressed. Couldn't you have gone a little easier on me? No, Apollo Justice. Why did you take this case? Isn't it obvious? I think Mr. Doe is innocent. But why? The two of you have never met. Well, you know. It's because of the Rivales, yes? You think they must be involved. That's what you told me yesterday. Well, yeah. After all, the Rivales were involved with Redco. Surely that's proof enough that they were up to no good. I think I understand. What do you mean? Forget it. That's not important right now. If you truly plan to take on the Rivales family, you need to be ready. I couldn't allow you to continue if I didn't think you could handle it. So that's what this was? A test? If you like. But you should know that I don't like pulling punches either. It's like I said yesterday. If we both perform our duties to the best of our abilities, the truth will surely emerge. I guess I can understand that. Can I ask you something, Prosecutor Von Karma? Why did you invite us to the casino that night? I mean, couldn't you have known that a murder was going to take place? I didn't. Huh? It's true that I was there to investigate the Rivales family and their link to Redco. And it's true that I invited you to aid me in that pursuit. I had no idea that Tinline was going to die. But why investigate now of all times? I mean, people must have known about the Rivales family for months. I'm afraid that my position as an Interpol agent forces me to keep quiet on the matter. And the Rivales' connection to Redco? Also classified. Is there anything that you can tell us? Not really. However, there's nothing to stop you from investigating that on your own. Considering some of the cases you've been involved in the past, I'm sure that it won't be too difficult for you to find the answer. What? Wait a second. Sorry, but I must be leaving now. I'll be seeing you all very soon. Are we gonna run into Brooke again? Are we gonna go back to the old Redco? Huh? Why did she just run off like that? And what did she mean by that? Has Von Karma been looking into my past cases? Wait a second. Athena. I know where we need to go. Huh? Mr. Doe, just wait a little longer. I promise you, I'm going to prove your innocence by the end of tomorrow's session. I am so very grateful for all of your help, Mr. Justice. Come on, Athena. We need to hurry. But you still haven't told me where we're going. Just follow me. I'll explain on the way. Apollo, wait! Valley's family. Redco. There's so many questions waiting to be answered. There's only one man I know who can do just that. Phoenix Wright. Actually, I'm going with Phoenix Wright as my expected answer, but there are a few names which would be surprise bonus answers. The interest of like the old Kotakis family, which I think was where the name Revales first came up, right? Yeah. Touchdown. Where are we? Where? Apollo? Why did you bring us here? It's like Von Karma said. Need more information about the Revales family. Need to find out what their connection is to Redco. How exactly the family gained so much influence over the past couple of years. Sure, I get all that. Why would you come looking for those answers at a bakery of all places? Yo. Whoa, welcome. Yes! This is the Kotakis bakery. What is this? Oh, man. What can I get for you, homies? Homies? Hey there, Waki. How have you been? Damn, lawyer man, is that you? Man, how's it his hanging? Good. Is his hanging good? It's when did you use words like his hanging? Just since now. Athena, let me introduce you to Waki Kitaki. Waki was a client of mine about 2 years ago. He's also part of the Kotakis family. You say that name like I should have heard of it. They went legit. Yo, you say that you never heard of the Kotakis? That's hella whack. You messing with me or something? I genuinely have no idea who you are. Faux shizzle? Faux shizzle. Oh, yeah, I guess you were out of the country at the time. The Kotakis family used to be one of the biggest gangs in the city. What? Now you think that you worked for the mob, Apollo? Well, it wasn't quite like that. Besides, the Kotakis family disbanded after that trial 2 years ago. They went legit. That's when they bought this place. They went from being criminals to making cakes. You got a problem with that? Anyway, okay, I wanted to speak with your father, if that's okay. Where's Big Wins? Sure thing. The old man's in the kitchen. Is there anything else I can get you? I'll have one OG muffin to go. Sure. Don't look at me like that. I haven't had lunch yet. Yo! It's called the OG Cracker, you dig? But it says muffin right there on the menu. That's a typo! That's a hell of a typo, Waki. Why did this picture next to it look nothing like a cracker? Hey, whatever, G. It's the OG Cracker, alright? Whatever you say, Waki. Yo, Pops. Lawyer Man's here to speak with you. Big wins, big wins, big wins. He's, an interesting guy. Anything. He seems to have calmed down a little bit since I last saw him. You're kidding. So you think that Waki's father can help you find out more about the Revales? Yeah. He was the head of the Kotakis family before they disbanded. Remember that the Revales family was also mentioned in Waki's trial. I guess Von Karma really did expect us to come here. She's always one step ahead of us. She is. I'm impressed. Good shit. Honored to see you again, Mr. Lawyer. You really should visit us more often. Yeah, there it is. Mr. Kotaki, it's good to see you as well. Let me introduce you. This is my co-worker, Athena Sykes. Hello. Athena, this is Winfred Kotaki, former head of the Kotakis family. Big wins. Yeah, please, call me Big Wins. I couldn't fit the space in my name. Here you go. One OG muffin. It is a muffin! Cracker Bizoy! Settle down, Walkie. I'm starting to remember why I stopped coming here. Yes! I am insanely happy. What about this? I'm afraid I cannot help you with that. We need to get this next batch of brownies prepared. Oh, sorry. I shouldn't take up too much of his time. These brownies smell great. Let's buy some. Just had a crack... Well, muffin, I swear. I mean, yeah. So how is business going? Excellent. Everyone is talking about us. I've been thinking of expanding our territory. There's a rival bakery on the east side of town, you see. If we open a new shop there, we can gain control of the area. You can take the boss out of the gang, but you can't take the gang out of the boss. Fair. I owe Mr. Justice a great deal. He saved my son in more ways than one. Looks like Wagi hasn't really changed too much. On the contrary, he's much more considerate and understanding these days. He even agreed to start working here at the family bakery. His mother and I couldn't be happier with how things turned out. And it's all thanks to you, Mr. Justice. Oh! It was nothing, really. Now then, to what do I owe this pleasure of your visit? Actually, the two of us are working on a case right now. Hey, this is the Apollo Justice sequel we all deserved. This is the Apollo Justice sequel we all deserved. Old favorites and new characters. The thing is, we reached a dead end in our investigation. I was hoping that you may be able to help us out. I am honored, but what could you possibly need my help for? Well, if it's not too much trouble, I'd like to hear all about that, all that you know of the Revales family. The Revales? Mr. Justice, you should not be involving yourself with such a group. Thank you for the concern, but I'm really in no position to back out now. Please, I need to hear what you know. You do not understand. You're only putting yourself in danger by pursuing such a thing. The man knows what he's talking about. Mr. Kotaki, I need to defend my client. I can't just... Silence! Yikes. Not just how terrifying Mr. Kotaki can be. Fine. I will tell you what I know. I need to show you that the Revales family is not to be trifled with. Thank you. This is quite a difficult subject for me, you must understand. It's my fault that the Revales have become so powerful. Huh? What are you talking about? To understand, you must first know about our shared past. Back at the start, there were 3 major gangs running the city. First, there's the Cadaverini family. The leader was Bruno Cadaverini. How's Viola doing, I wonder? The Cadaverinis were the largest and most powerful gang back then. Even if Bruno himself was becoming more feeble as he got older. Second, there was myself and the rest of the Kotakis family. I had complete control over the west side of the city. The Kotakis family and the Cadaverini family maintained an uneasy alliance. Basically, we agreed to stay out of each other's business. However, our dealings with the third group, the Revales, were not so civil. The two of us would frequently get into turf wars, as Waki would call them. Back then, the Revales were the weakest and most vulnerable group. They controlled only a small area of territory, and were constantly under threat. That's right. Emma's saying the same thing. In the grand scheme of things, the city was balanced. Power was spread out between us all. But things began to change about 4 years ago. We were approached by a man named Nathan Maggs. Ooh, and he threw his weight into the Revales. Maggs' company, Redco, is one of the largest organizations in the country. It started out as a real estate business, but quickly expanded to every corner of every market, including some considerably less legitimate affairs. So, Mags came to us with an offer were to protect his business and its dealings. In return, he would provide funding and use his influence to protect our group as well. Oh, so in a sort of way, he was the Salazzo of the mobs in the city. Obviously, he approached the Cadaverini family first. Fortunately for Mags, Pluto immediately sent him away. In Pluto's eyes, the Cadaverini family wasn't in need of any extra assistance. After that, Mags offered me the exact same deal. However, I'd already made my decision to disband the gang by that time. I see. So Mags approached the Rivales instead, right? Actually, he didn't. Not straight away, at least. Mags saw the state of the Rivales at the time and decided that they weren't up to the task. Instead, he gave up on his plans to gain control of the criminal underworld. That is until 2 years ago, when the Kotakis family was formally disbanded. Ah! With the Kotakis family gone, the Rivales were able to expand into the resulting power vacuum. They took control of our former territory and recruited some of our old gang members. So my decision to dissolve my own gang. The Rivales family became much more powerful, rivaling even the Cadaverini family. Clearly this would have drawn Mags' attention. Vito took the deal, and, backed by the power of Redco, the Rivales were able to drive the Cadaverini family from the city. Oh wow! The Rivales became the single most powerful criminal group in the city in a matter of weeks. So that's what you were saying before, about it being your fault? Had I considered the repercussions of my actions, perhaps I could have prevented their rise to power. Now I'm afraid the Rivales are simply too powerful. They control the entire city. With Redco at its side, Vito simply can't be stopped. That's not true. After all, Nathan Mags is in jail now. He was arrested for murder. It's not that simple. Even if the police are able to ensure that Mags is convicted for his crimes, Redco will still be at his command. What? The Rivales are all prepared to do his bidding. Mags will continue to control his criminal syndicate from behind bars. And soon enough, he'll use his connections to ensure his release. I wouldn't be surprised if Nathan Mags is back on the streets by the end of the month. No way! He seriously has that much power? Redco and the Rivales protect each other. As long as one of them remains, the other will be completely untouchable. No way. Oh boy. Does that mean that everything we did was all for nothing? Get out now while we still can. I understand now. What? Don't you get it, Athena? This is why Von Karma has started investigating the Rivales. With Mags under arrest, they become vulnerable for the first time in years. Sure, but... he's slightly out of power, not 100% out of power. If Interpol is able to put the Rivales family away now, then Mags would lose his protection. This is their only chance to put an end to the syndicate. Apollo, think about what you're saying. Even if you're right, it's not that easy to dismantle a powerful crime group like that. It's like Detective Sky said. Police haven't even found any evidence to warrant an investigation into the Rivales. No solid proof any of their wrongdoings has ever been found. Yet? What? Think about it. If Titline really was killed by one of the Rivales, it would give Interpol the leverage they need to conduct the full investigation. You're not saying... This is why Von Karma wanted us to take the case. All we need to do now is find the truth. Mr. Kotaki, thank you so much for everything. Mr. Justice. Come on, Athena. I have a lot of time to lose. Apollo, hold on a second. And he's gone. Just ran out. Please wait. Miss Sykes, was it? Oh, Mr. Kotaki? As I told you before, I owe a great deal to Mr. Justice. That's why I do not wish to see him get hurt. Oh, your valets are dangerous. You should not be getting involved. Well, Leader of Valets is a vicious man. This man nearly took my son away from me back then. I will not hesitate to remove those who dare to cross him. Countless people have suffered and died at their hands. I could not forgive myself for Mr. Justice to end up among them. I understand that you have your own duties to fulfill, but I am begging you. You must turn around and forget about the Revales. I understand, but I don't think that Apollo is just going to give up like that. He must, if you do not wish to see him come to harm. Mr. Kotaki? For what it's worth, I think that you did the right thing by deciding to go straight. You shouldn't blame yourself for the crimes that others have committed. You had no idea that your decision would lead to this. You had good intentions. Thank you for everything. Muffet was delicious. Oh. Oh god, I'm sad now. Oh. Alright. Back to Mr. Doe, I guess. Justice and Miss Sykes, I'm glad to see you again. Well, we'll talk with you more next time.